Volkswagen Philippines might seem insane for bringing the first generation Tiguan back to our market. But despite being sourced from China nowadays, trust me, this car is worth your attention. If the proportions seem quite different to you when compared to most Tiguans you see on the road, well, there's a reason for that. This is actually the long wheelbase version from the Chinese market, which does work well with its design in my opinion. Now, it may not look as flashy as some crossovers nowadays, but Volkswagen's conservative, albeit timeless design is actually in its favor. The HID headlights and slim horizontal grille give it an elegant face, while the rear has some added flair from the LED taillights. The Tiguan's interior is expectedly familiar. As with many Volkswagen products, the interior is filled with soft touch surfaces and satin chrome finishes. Well-damped controls and solidly reassuring doors give it a very premium feel. It's only the pixelated multi-info display, as well as the radio that gives it any hints of its age. At least it has Bluetooth for you to, well, connect your smartphone basically. Being the long wheelbase variant, legroom at the back is the best among its competitors. The panoramic sunroof makes it feel even more spacious, though this impacts headroom somewhat for the side passengers. All that stretch, however, went to the wheelbase, which means the trunk space remains the same from the standard German-made model it replaces. Under the hood of the Tiguan is a 1.4-liter inline-4 turbocharged petrol engine, producing 150 horsepower and 250 Nm of torque. Power is sent to the front wheels via a 6-speed DSG dual-clutch transmission. Now that all these details are out of the way, let's now take the Tiguan for a drive. One of the good things about the Volkswagen Tiguan is that the car being very refined and stable, as in the typical Volkswagen characteristics that you expect. It drives like a car from a class above. And despite being the older Tiguan that replaces the new MQB-based Tiguan, this Tiguan still manages to be very solid and stable even at high speeds. It's the typical Volkswagen Teutonic solidity and refinement that you expect. And that's despite having this large panoramic sunroof up here. Though there's still some chassis flex because of the loss in rigidity because of this large glass roof up there. The benefits of having this feature actually outweigh the negatives because even though this panoramic sunroof is expansive and really large, it does an excellent job of rejecting heat, which means that even today in the midday sun, the cabin still remains cool and comfortable even if I leave this open, which means that most people would be able to enjoy the scenery and all the trees out here in this beautiful provincial area. The seating is also pretty nice. It's quite heavy but not cumbersome when it comes to parking and all that stuff. But as a payoff to that sort of heavy steering is that the car becomes stable to operate once you're out in the highway, which bodes well with the nature of this car in the first place. The engine under this car is a 1.4-liter turbocharged inline-4 mated to a 6-speed DSG or a direct shift gearbox, which is Volkswagen speak for a dual-clutch transmission. Though the engine has plenty of punch once the turbos kick in, but below that, the engine feels pretty gutless. But once the turbos kick in, there's a lot of shove from the torque that the turbochargers offer in this engine. But because of that nature, the engine seems to have an on-off personality in stop-and-go traffic because it makes the car hard to modulate in such situations. But out in the open road, in this situation, like what we're in now, once we're moving, the engine responds much better to your inputs. The dual clutch transmission works really well in tandem with the engine, and once really the turbos do kick in, it provides you with plenty of overtaking power. But another feature that I like about this 1.4-liter turbocharged engine is that it's a very fuel-efficient motor. So we're currently doing 10.5 kilometers per liter, which is very fuel efficient, especially since this is not a diesel SUV. And yet, it's also a punchy petrol turbocharged engine at that. And lastly, in terms of ride, the Volkswagen is actually quite a comfortable cruiser. It just has the right amount of firmness that the handling remains neutral and composed. So as a whole, I think Volkswagen has done a better job of catering this car to Filipino consumers. Because first of all, the previous Tiguan cost around 2.1 million pesos, which, let's be honest, no one's gonna be buying a compact crossover that rivals a Honda CR-V, but the equipment isn't as comprehensive as the Japanese counterpart, and yet it costs 2.1 million pesos. But this time around, priced at 1.6 million pesos, plus with a host of new features that the Volkswagen Tiguan didn't have throughout its existence, plus a host of new features that makes the Tiguan a much better proposition, Volkswagen has done a good job of catering this car better to Filipino consumers. So if you want to read my full review on this car, just visit golfnautpage.com.